Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So a couple days ago I played the original Resident Evil 2 for the first time to get all limbered up and ready for the remake. I was surprised at how well it held up, considering I don't really love horror games and think zombies have been pretty much played out for like a decade at this point. So yeah, I liked it. But what about the remake? Well, I played it and thought it was really good. But is it this good? Maybe, but that's why I'm making this video. Like always, we're going to talk about each part of the game, rank them from the worst to the best, and then give it our completely honest and totally subjective overall score at the end. Alright, let's do this. So, how's the gameplay? You know what's weird? I couldn't seem to put this game down even though it doesn't really play all that drastically different from other survival horror games that have just kind of put me to sleep. It almost feels like a Metroidvania to me, where it keeps giving you new items that let you access different areas in new ways and stuff. And the way they did the map is just genius to me. It's just one quick press of a button away and lets you know which rooms you've explored all the way by coloring them blue and which rooms you still have stuff to find by coloring them red. I got completely obsessed with making my map entirely blue. It was just such an easy and addicting way to track my progress in the game and find new items, which I was always desperate for because even on standard difficulty, every encounter with a zombie feels downright oppressive. It's a lot less easy to sneak around zombies in this game than it was in the original, which I think is a little bit good and a little bad. Like I said before, every enemy encounter matters in this game, but when you're backtracking and stuff and you keep getting held up by some zombo you swear you killed like 19 times already, it gets less scary and more just kind of annoying. A huge part of this is the stupid limited inventory space management system that, for some unfathomable reason, games like this are still clinging on to like Uncle Rico and football. Get over it, guys. It was never a good mechanic, and it adds nothing to the experience that this game wants you to have. It doesn't make it any more scary or intense, it just makes it more frustrating. And it's not like they're going for realism either here. I'm carrying around like 4 potted plants, a flamethrower, and a clock tower gear, but I can't squeeze 2 extra bullets into my pants somewhere? I mean, what's taking up all the space in there? Other games where I don't have to think about the most banal activity in video game history? Also, another small pet peeve, but why don't horror games ever let you move at a rate of speed that accurately portrays the life-threatening danger that it puts you in? Uh-oh, here comes Super Zombo Man X. Better trot at 30% of my top speed in order to get away. That's just a small complaint. Overall, I had a really good time playing this game. Yeah, it's basic survival horror, but it's done really well. Also, I think it's important to just say this. I don't know what it means or why it exists, but tofu mode. So how about the visuals? And graphically, this game is amazing. I mean, just the most gruesome, handsome, apocalyptic stuff. These zombo girls and boys are scary. I mean, just look, scared the pants right off this guy. What impressed me the most is just the sheer amount of environmental detail, because while this game doesn't take you to too many different places or that many wide open areas, it compensates for it by coloring every little corner with splashes of life that make it look like a lived in and functional world. And this game does an amazing job at subtly guiding you through all these logical inferences where you'll see a dead body and go, oh yeah, that's the guy whose ID I'm using. For as much as this game is front-loaded with more everyday life familiar locations, the second half is just as packed with the surreal. To be honest, the super sewer monsters and vegetabilized lab facilities were a lot more fun to explore for me, but both are good for different reasons. I guess it comes down to what you prefer between more jumpy, scary stuff in tight quarters or more of an ambient horror in more open environments. My personal preference is looking at Ada or Claire, because their designs are great, especially their different costumes. But I couldn't blame you if you're more of a Leon guy or girl. He fits the bill of the young rookie, kinda wide-eyed and fresh in the face. Really, all the characters have great designs, but honestly the real star of the show are of course the zombies and the other bad guys who all just look completely terrifying. If I had one complaint about them, it's that there isn't a huge variety of enemies, which is kinda sad. I was getting pretty excited to see some more giant spiders and stuff like the original had, but the remake didn't have any. It was kind of disappointing. So yeah, the game looks really good. It just has a couple of omissions. How about the story it tells? I mean, it's zombies. You kill them and then you escape from them. Honestly, if you're looking for something game-changing or super original, this probably isn't the best place to look. I will say this though, the game does a really good job of getting you invested in its events because it takes you through them with the characters in real time over the course of a single night, and it pulls you into its pace pretty effortlessly. A new viral strain is created by an unhinged scientist, some corporate violence goes down, and it ends up infecting everybody in the city.
You'll never get your filthy hands on the G.
If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Maybe the coolest thing about the story is that you can go through it in 2 different scenarios that take you through the same events but from different perspectives. It's mostly the same, like you get pretty much all the same puzzles and enemies, and the 2 paths aren't truly 100% congruous with each other, with some of the events not quite lining up perfectly alongside each other, but it's still a really fun idea and makes it way more than worth it to replay the game again, or even a couple times if you want to take each of the main characters down the scenario path you didn't choose for them the first time around. It's a super contained story that doesn't really take you all the way to the end of the zombie conflict, but more to the end of the first act of something a lot bigger. Not to say that it isn't a satisfying ending, because in a lot of ways it is, but there's still kind of a lot of stuff I was left wondering about by the end. I am a Resident Evil noob though, so maybe it's just me not knowing what I need to know about how the series works or something, but that's fair warning for other newcomers. I wouldn't pick this game up for the story alone, but you can totally enjoy the story that it does give you while it just does other stuff better. The characters. So the 2 main characters, Leon and Claire, are great. I don't even know exactly what their motivations are, and their willingness to go through some terrible stuff is pretty vaguely defined when, in reality, they probably should have just pieced out at the first sign of that one zombie munching on the other guy at the gas station. But you know what? Who cares? They're heroes. I took a huge liking to the secondary cast members this time around too. Facing off against Chief Irons as Sherry was such a good moment for a young girl character like her to have. And Ada is a cool femme fatale type, hacking into mainframes as well as Leon's heart and stuff. I love her. Even if their actions aren't quite believable, everyone comes across as at least emotionally relatable, even some of the bad guys, and for how relatively little screen time any single character gets in this game, they all have nice little character arcs that take some interesting turns. My favorite dude's gotta be the Tyrant though. Man, his presence in this game is so strong. The way he relentlessly stalks you is straight up nauseatingly frightening. Every time he slams through a door, I feel the blood drain out of my face at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. One of the great romances of our day, Leon and Super Zombo Man X. Hopefully someday I'll get to meet that special person who will follow me to the ends of the earth. Always looking my way with smoldering intensity, fire burning deep in their loins. Anyways, everyone has such strong personalities, and they each have different reasons to be in the thick of the fight, so it's fun to see everyone kind of operating on their own wavelengths alongside each other, good and bad. And the music. This is the one area of the game that left less of an impact on me than the original game did. I can only really recall one track, and only because it'll forever be attached to the sensation of my testicles slingshotting up into my body and out of my throat whenever Super Zombo Man X is getting close. But for the most part, the music doesn't do anything all that memorable, and same with the sound design, honestly. I mean, it's good, like it's technically proficient, but just not memorable to me in any way. I guess it has kind of a fun song once you beat both scenarios as the credits roll over the end, but other than that it's just tucked so far into the background that it's almost like the game is hoping we don't notice it or something. Come on, music, be more confident, get some melody going or something. The most interesting it gets is when some hefty percussion pieces kick in during boss fights or whatever, but it just isn't enough to stick with me. Actually wait, there is one song I'm pretty into, in the hunk side mode that you get after beating both the A and B side for either character. That part has some pretty sweet music. Other than that though, it's just alright. For a game that developed such a personality from when its original was released, I really wish that they could have come up with a main theme or a melody that lived up to it. Anyways, it's time to get to the final judgments, so let's do this. In last place is the music. Nothing about the soundtrack or the sound design really stood out to me. In fourth place is the story. I like how it unfolds through all kinds of like diary entries and stuff, and it is really cool how there are 2 scenarios that happen side by side each other. But at the end of the day, it's pretty basic zombie stuff. In third place are the visuals. The first half of the game looks good, the second half of the game looks great. In second place are the characters. The cast is likable, relatable, tragic, and most important, beautiful. Just kidding. We all know what's most important in a person is their girth. And in first place is the gameplay. I mean, it's gotta be. It's super challenging and oddly addicting. The inventory micromanagement nonsense sucks. I mean, it always will, but that's okay, I guess. We'll give it a pass. In the end, the Resident Evil 2 remake does a lot to carve out some much needed personality for itself in a genre of games that's always felt a little stagnant and bland to me. While I wouldn't say that this game really does anything that would turn a hater of the genre into a new fan, I could confidently say that anyone who's into survival horror will find a lot to really like about this game. Our scoring system works on the assumption that a 5 out of 10 is a perfectly average and playable game, so my score of a high 7 puts it way above average, if not a little bit overrated compared to what some of the mainstream critics are giving it. So yeah, the game's great, and coming from someone who doesn't typically like these kinds of games, I think that's saying a lot. That's it. Thanks for watching. See ya.